Nasarawa State has an estimated population of about 2 million people, with over 70% engaged in agricultural production. This is Nasarawa Focus, and I am Maria Olashainde. On the show today, I'll be meeting with the Nasarawa Commissioner for Agriculture, Jamil Zakari. Let's go on this quick break. Nasarawa Focus will be right back. Nasarawa is an agrarian state blessed with good weather and favorable soils. Various crops are grown in commercial quantities here. The state also has abundant livestock and aquacultural resources. It is evident that agriculture is the mainstay of Nasarawa State's economy, with its enormous contribution to the socio-economic development of the state. The state government has prioritized a good chunk of its resources, and attention is given to agriculture by formulating policies and programs aimed at developing the sector to achieve food self-sufficiency and food security. On May the 31st this year, the Nasarawa State procured fertilizers and distributed them to farmers at subsidized rates. This is a yearly exercise by the state government to ensure small-scale farmers are motivated to produce more crops.
It will surprise you to note that the feeders of the nation are not the large-scale farmers, but the small-scale farmers. And I feel any government worth its salt should give priority to these small-scale farmers, because they are the ones that are tilling the land day in, day out, and responsible for ensuring food security in our land. However, a lot of our farmlands have been exhausted, have been overused, requires some kind of replenishment. That is why the procurement and distribution of fertilizer becomes absolutely necessary.
The Almakra-led administration has now taken a bold step to improve on access to fertilizers. 4 different fertilizer plants will be set up in different locations in Nasarawa State.
Last year we procured about 137 trucks. This year we are increasing to 150 trucks. These fertilizers are procured from different locations where they have been blended. But I can assure you, the people of Nasarawa State, this year will be the last year Nasarawa State will procure fertilizer from a different source.
This and many more plans are in place to boost the agriculture sector of the state. But to get more insights to what the Almakra-led administration has been doing in that regard, Nasarawa Focus decided to meet with the State Commissioner for Agriculture, Jamil Zakari.
How are you?
Very good, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Please, take a seat.
Nasarawa State has agriculture as the mainstay of its economy. Can you tell the activities of the state government in the area of agriculture?
Well, thank you very much for being in my office in Nasarawa State. We are agricultural hub. Most of our people, over 75% of them, engage in agriculture. And so the state government is mindful of that and therefore prioritize the issue of agriculture. We are farming cash crops and other crops: yam, rice, cassava, sesame, ginger, and all the rest of them. We are one of the biggest rice farmers in this country. That's why today we have Olam Group, one of the leading agricultural companies in the world, that is doing business in Nasarawa State. Rukubi, where it is headquartered, is one of the biggest rice farming community in the entire West Africa. So Nasarawa State government is determined to ensure that farmers are given all the help that they need. And the Ministry of Agriculture is doing the midwifing of this process. We do some intervention, providing inputs such as fertilizers, seeds, seedlings, and herbicides, so that our farmers will have this at subsidized rates and in good quantity. The idea is to ensure that we key into the United Nations drive for food security and the federal government desire to ensure that agriculture receives all the support it gets, to get our people going. As you are aware, agriculture provides over 40%, 45% of the GDP. In Nasarawa State, it is the mainstay of our economy. Like I told you earlier, our people, most of them are in agriculture. And that is why we are determined to ensure that we give them the support that they need to ensure that we have increased bumper harvest. Only last week, His Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa State, officially flagged off the sale of the 2018 farming season fertilizer. And he was generous enough to approve that we supply for our people over 150 trucks of fertilizers, different assorted fertilizers. This was unprecedented.
At the subsidized rate?
As of subsidized rate. The government, federal government control price is 5,500. He has agreed that we sell it to our people at 4,000 naira. So far this year, Nasarawa State is the only state that is selling at that price. The few other states that have done their flag off, which I have monitored, are selling it either at the control price of 5,500 or at the reduced price of 5,000. In the open market, you buy it at 6,000, 7,000 naira. So you can see that the massive scale down of the price that His Excellency has done confirms that he is interested in ensuring that our smallholder farmers get access to fertilizer and use it for the purposes of increasing bumper harvest. Bumper harvest is not the only thing we're targeting. We're trying to ensure that we encourage as many people as possible to go into farming so that we can alleviate poverty through that process. We can generate employment through that process. So it's a multi-pronged approach that we're doing in Nasarawa State. This government is working with other big players in the agri sector to ensure that we bring investment. I have mentioned Olam Groups initially. Dangote is coming to Nasarawa State. In fact, he's already in Nasarawa State and he's investing over 20 billion naira in Tunga to establish one of the biggest sugar refining factory in Nasarawa State. Dangote, at the same time, has indicated interest to come into rice farming in Nasarawa State. So the preliminary works are being done. Once we're established, we'll do an MOU and we'll give them the necessary support to ensure that they do a takeoff. So these are some of the things that we're doing as a state government to ensure that agriculture is the in thing in the state and in the country. I've always joked about this, but it's a fact. Eating food is not an option. So agriculture is at the backbone of the socio-economic well-being of Nigerians. And so we are determined to give our people the support to do that. We have been engaging research institutions and others to provide for us seedlings, maize, rice seedlings, yam seedlings, improved seedlings that will make farming easy and of course boost their level of harvest. And we are providing seedlings therefore. Herbicides are also there, is something we engage in. Luckily for us, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, through their state office here, we are partnering with them. They are here with some implements, they are here with some herbicides, and we have been engaging our stakeholders in the agri value chain to try to avail themselves of that opportunity. The whole idea is to ensure that we increase the practice of agriculture. And we are coming up with liberal policies, looking at the financial windows that our farmers can use to get support, financial support, at single-digit interest rates of not less than 9%, so that they can help, because financing is a major challenge that our people are facing. We are also looking at, we're almost done with the paperwork as far as the anchor borrowers is concerned. People who are in the agri value chain understand what the anchor borrowers is about. His Excellency has agreed and has even supported us with the RICS contribution from the state for us to join the anchor borrowers program. 3,000 people will be engaged for rice, 1,000 for sesame seed. So this is a work in progress, but we are confident that in the next few weeks we are going to roll out the anchor borrowers. If we do this, it will support our farmers, and if we get the results that we hope to get, by next year we will ensure that we quadruple this number so that our people will continue to benefit from this kind of programs. One of the other challenges that our farmers have faced on a continuous basis year in, year out is the issue of post-harvest storage. And government, His Excellency approved that warehouses be built. We have 13 local governments, we have 18 development areas, making a total of 31. So he has put paid to his promise. We have warehouses in the entire 31 locations. In addition, we are using the strategic game reserves of the federal government that is here in Lafia. You will see it, along the way where we're visiting, so that we will help our people in conserving their harvest so that there won't be unnecessary losses at the end of the harvest. So this, I am sure, would improve the economic well-being of our farmers, and by extension it will trickle down to the economy, and everybody is going to be happy for it. With enough food, I'm sure our people will be able to do whatever they can to support us. So I hope to take you to one or two of our places so that you will see what we're doing on the field. Come with me.
To see some of the projects of the state government in the agriculture sector firsthand, the commissioner took me on a ride. We went on a tour of major agric sites and facility of the state government. We arrived at a site still under construction. This is one of the 4 locations where the Almakura administration is building fertilizer blending plants. The commissioner gave me a sneak peek into the fertilizer plant site, which the state government is working on to commence operation by the end of the year.
Having done the turnaround maintenance of the machine, they have just run it by producing sample fertilizer from the machine. That's the old one. And as every state in Nigeria, we have 3 senatorial districts. So we are distributing this in each of the senatorial districts. So the two other modular fertilizer blending plants are going to be taken to Akwanga, is the headquarters of Nasarawa North, and then Kefi is the headquarters of Nasarawa South, Nasarawa West. Lafia is the headquarters of Nasarawa South. So these are the 3 senatorial districts. So one modular to Akwanga, one modular to Kefi. The idea is to bring it closer to our people. Yeah, so each of the senatorial headquarters will have one modular fertilizer blending plant. And the good thing about what we're trying to do with these blending plants is that by next year, when it comes into full action, we would have been producing our fertilizer. We will no longer buy it from anywhere.
Where do you buy from now?
We buy from, we have entered into the federal government's arrangement, the federal government Morocco plan, through the Sovereign Wealth Fund. So we have entered into an ASPO with them for 10,000 metric tons of fertilizer. So we are getting our own supply from Bokos in Plateau State. There's a blending plant that was approved by the federal government for the program that the federal government is running. So that's why we're bringing fertilizer now. Hopefully, by the time this blending plant is fully established and is installed and is working, running, next year our people will get their fertilizers right at home in Nasarawa State. And the capacity of the blending plant that we're putting the 4 of them, including this old one, making them 5, is such that we will not be able to consume everything in Nasarawa State. It will sell out. And we intend to join the federal government arrangement to become one of the blending plants out of the about 16 in Nigeria that they have signed into, so that we can supply fertilizer in Nigeria. So we are looking to become a fertilizer hub also, Nasarawa State, by next year.
Okay, so how many jobs have been created through this initiative? Can you count?
Well, because the machines are still in the process of being installed, but by the time we are done with it, I think in the value chain, plus handling and all the rest of it, probably anything between 3,000 to 5,000 people would be having, something to do in this plan. That is the idea in this 4 or 5 plants that we're talking about. 3,000 to 5,000 people may be engaged in the value chain. So this is how His Excellency is making effort to ensure that there's poverty reduction and creation of employment opportunity, so that our teaming youths would be engaged, in this.
What about the farmers that these herdsmen farmers clashes affected their farm? Is the state government doing anything to compensate?
Yeah, so definitely. This herdsmen farmers clashes has been on for some time, but we shouldn't take liberty for license. Because it has been happening doesn't mean that something doesn't need to be done. And it came into full scale when the Benue State government established its anti-open grazing law. And the people who are doing the herding, most of them who are Fulanis, of course have to migrate outside of Benue State, because the room for them to do open grazing has been closed. And we are a border state between us and Benue State. So, and this has affected other communities, farming communities, because you are having cows that are coming, migrating in millions, and they have to pass through these routes, which have been also affected. The grazing routes have been affected, and that is why the state government is, as part of the solution to reduce herders and farmers clashes, the state government is planning to resuscitate some of these grazing routes, and also to bring back into life some of the grazing reserves that we have. We have about 7 of them in Nasarawa State. Yeah, 3 of them have been gazetted. The other ones are in the process of being gazetted, but already they've been identified. And so the state government would do the resuscitation of these grazing routes also. That, we believe, would reduce the tension, the crisis, the violence between farmers and herders. But as far as we are concerned in Nasarawa State, His Excellency has emphasized that we are brothers keepers. We don't hold anything against anybody. We only are difficult when it comes to people who break the law. If you take laws into your hands and you commit any kind of atrocity or criminal action, then we will make sure that law enforcement, crashes on you. And that's what the government is doing, working with security agencies, working with traditional institutions, working with stakeholders from the farmers and the herdsmen to reduce this conflict. So, because if it continues, it's going to affect food, because farmers will refuse to go to farm for fear of being attacked.
Exactly.
And herders will also be afraid to do grazing. Exactly, poverty will be increased.
And off we went to one of the rice mills where the state's rice has been processed. This rice mill produces 30 bags of 50 kilograms of rice per hour. The rice mill is being run. We have leased it out
to the Rice Millers and Dealers Association of Nasarawa State.
For how long?
For about, it's almost about 1 year yanzu da muka baku wannan abun ya kai shekara? Bai kai ba. It's about 8 months.
8 months.
Yes. November. We leased it out. Yes, we leased it out in November last year. So it's barely 8 months.
So how long are you leasing it out today?
We initially for 2 years.
2 years.
Yes, we want to see how they will manage it. The capacity of how they can manage it, we'll see. And then if it's something we'll renew probably for a longer period of time. Yes, and then this is where they do the parboiling, right? These machines you're seeing are the ones that is used for parboiling. But sometimes, because of the challenge you have with technical things, they have to make provision for local arrangement on how to parboil this rice. So the pots here are used for parboiling of the paddy. Once the paddy comes from the market, they have to come here and parboil it to a certain degree, centigrade, before they take it to the machine for processing. So this is virtually the first attempt at the processing. Chain. The Lafia was one of the biggest market for rice. I was even told by our elders that even during the Biafran War, that rice supplies to the east at that time from here was coming from Lafia because of the massive scale. And it was such an industry that gives employment opportunities to hundreds and thousands of people. Because, like I said, the value chain is continuous. You have people who are doing the boiling, people who are doing the farming, people who are doing the processing, people who are doing the milling, people who are doing the bagging, people who are doing the handling processes, division of labor. Is a big industry. So Lafia or Nasarawa State has been known for rice milling. Up to today, even after that particular industry has virtually collapsed. Rice production is big. And so to look back with nostalgia and not do anything about reviving this thing would be a disservice for Al-Makura, because his family, incidentally, was part of the milling process at that time. Okay. Even when he was a young man, he used to engage in rice milling. So you could understand the emotional attachment, to do this. Apart from that, he's such a leader that wants to make impact where it is most felt. So when Jaka wanted to start this, it automatically came to Nasarawa State to establish this incubation plan, and we gave them all the necessary support because we co-funded the process. They provided the machine, we bought the land, we built the structure, and provided any other thing you have seen here.
Thank you for having us, Commissioner for Agriculture, Honorable Jamil Zakari.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
It's been a wonderful time out with you.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. And that's been the episode today on Nasarawa Focus. Let's do it same time next week. I am Maria Odlashengi. Bye for now.